the latest challenge, essentially, to the Constitution that we're dealing with, the latest challenge to sort of norms and the law enforcement agencies, and that is apparently, and it's been telegraphed, which makes it all the more alarming. James Comey, the former FBI director, probably one of the few people that is unpopular on the left and the right simultaneously, in ways that inspire anger on the left and the right. He is unique among, is sort of a one of one in that aspect, right? The anger and the venom that can come out when you mention Comey's name to somebody with an experience from the 2016 campaign on the Democratic side, or somebody in Trump world that dealt with the impeachments on the other side of things. He is a one of one on this. But regardless of your personal feelings of James Comey, how the administration is going about and trying to, quote unquote, target the president's enemies is really sort of creating real problems, I think, with the rule of law right now. Look, half the country, Donald Trump has spent the last 6 years convincing half the country that every charge that he has ever faced was a weaponization of the law against him for political reasons, right? He does not accept the premise that he has done anything at all wrong ever, whether it was what he did on January 6th or what he did in his own businesses or what he did to E. Jean Carroll, all of those things, right? It is for him, he is in quite successfully, with at least 30 to 40% of the country, convinced them that every single charge he's ever faced under every circumstances was just drummed up by his political opponents. Now, both things can be true at the same time. He committed offenses, he committed crimes, and his political opponents were trying to get him, and we're trying to hold him accountable for what he did. So that is one of those things where there's not a conspiracy here. There was certainly an agenda and a drive. And look, I think that we can sit here and debate whether the pile-on ended up benefiting him, right? When there was arguably, you focus on what he did on January 6th and what he did as president, and the decision, to go after him in the various state courts came across like a pile-on, and did give him martyrdom status, at least among his supporters. And it is one of those where, he has always claimed there was coordination, but considering how messed it up it all ended up, there was no coordination, and that was actually part of the problem. Had they actually been coordinating, I don't think Letitia James does what she does, and I don't think Fani Willis down in Atlanta does what she does. That you have a much different focus. And look, we always forget here how poorly Merrick Garland handled all of this, where he allowed himself to get cornered into a special counsel because he took so long for the wheels of justice to be put into motion to deal with the president and the former president at the time. And the whole rationale for appointing the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, at the time, was to have somebody who was a federal judge who could, essentially an adult in the room, to handle what was going to be the most difficult potential indictment that the federal government's ever brought against somebody. But he botched it. And here we are. So Trump, we know this, right? When we last picked up in our soap opera here, he has fired the previous U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia because, as he wrote in his tweet, he is, this is killing him. They have no credibility if they don't bring indictments against Comey and Schiff in particular, right? He name-checked Comey and Schiff and Letitia James. Those are the three people he name-checked in there to Pam Bondi, referred to her by first name. What are you doing? So he's got a new U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. It appears that Comey is close here. The clock is ticking. What they want to charge him with is lying to Congress. And he did it in testimony in September of 2020. And he is coming up where if this gets too much, if it goes too long, goes into October and they don't indict him, they can't. Essentially, time will have run out, right? There's sort of a 5-year clock on that. I might have thought it was a 7-year clock, but apparently it's a 5-year clock. And so they can't bring that charge if they don't bring it soon. Now, remember in Donald Trump's tweet, he doesn't care whether the indictment sticks. He just wants the indictment. He wants them to spend money, right? His MO, he doesn't care whether he's right or wrong. He's going to file a lawsuit. And he wants his political enemies to drown in paperwork, to pay legal bills. And in his mind, this is retribution, right? If he had to deal with this, so should Comey. If he had to deal with this, so should Letitia James, right? And so, and obviously Adam Schiff. It's interesting to me, by the way, that he goes after Adam Schiff, but not Jamie Raskin, right? He goes after the first impeachment lead prosecutor, who was Adam Schiff, but not the second impeachment leading prosecutor. Of course, Jamie Raskin was prosecuting the January 6th insurrection, and he got a handful of Republicans to support his cause. Schiff was part of something that was only Democrats were on the side of impeaching him on that. So perhaps that's why he doesn't target Jamie Raskin. But the Comey indictment's apparently coming, and I think it's going to be fascinating. There's a few things to watch here. One, can they get a grand jury, right? Donald Trump has telegraphed that this is that he has politicized this prosecution, right? He got angry that the previous U.S. attorney said there wasn't enough evidence to bring charges. So he said, I want my one of my personal lawyers to become the U.S. attorney. He has successfully done that. And now he wants her to bring this indictment. Again, he doesn't care if there's a conviction. But here's the problem. And this is, if I were to say I had one mission with what I'm trying to do here in this independent space, it's to get everybody to realize why two wrongs don't make a right, and actually why two wrongs are destructive to the American experiment. So Donald Trump spent 6 years convincing all of his supporters that every law enforcement agency in the government was corrupt. And now, in a 9 short months, he has made sure he's got his people in these agencies, and he's got them doing things that are very political, right? He is doing what he believes was done against him. There's no evidence that it was, but he doesn't care. And he just sees, hey, eye for an eye, right? This is sort of Old Testament justice in his head. Eye for an eye. You indicted my guy, I'm going to figure out how to get back at you.
There's a reason results matter more than promises. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan has become America's largest injury law firm. For the last 35 years, they've recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. It includes cases where insurance companies offered next to nothing, short of shortchanging, seeing if they could get away with it. And Morgan & Morgan fought back, and they won millions. In Pennsylvania, one client was awarded $26 million. It was a staggering 40 times the amount that the insurance company originally offered. That offer, $650,000, whatever it took to sort of get away without paying. So with more than 1,000 lawyers across the country, Morgan & Morgan knows how to deliver for everyday people. So if you're injured, you're looking for a lawyer, check out forthepeople.com/ToddCast or dial pound law, pound 529 on your cell phone. And remember, all law firms are not the same. So give Morgan & Morgan a look. Their fee is free unless they win.
And in some ways, so now Donald Trump has spent all this time convincing people that, hey, this law enforcement, the Justice Department, all politicized. So he now politicizes it. And now he's actually politicizing it. And we see this sort of kangaroo court potentially trying to indict Comey here and trying to, doing what he did with Bolton and anybody that, especially, by the way, notice only Democrats get prosecuted now, but Tom Homan takes a bag of cash. We're going to drop the charges. Again, the most astonishing aspect of the entire Tom Homan story, the border guy who took the 50 grand, is that A, there's no denial that he took the 50 grand. And B, they're just sort of like, nothing to see here. We've just shut down the investigation. I mean, you're just like, are we really living in normal times, right? Or did Biff take the gambling book and he went back in time and we living on some alternative timeline, right? Sometimes I buy into the alternative timeline thing all the time because you see his behavior and you're like, at some point, Sacha Baron Cohen is going to rip off his Trump mask and tell us that this has been a gag the whole time, right?
Like there's not a 0% chance of this, right? There's like a 0.5% chance, you know, Donald Trump is the biggest Sacha Baron Cohen gag that we've ever had, President Borat. But in all seriousness, so you got one side not believing it. Now you're going to use and politicize the Justice Department and the FBI. And there's already a congressman, Mark Vesey, says, I don't trust anything the FBI says, right? They had overnight, we had another attack on an ICE facility. This is very troubling. And apparently it is anti people who are angry at ICE. It's certainly it's certainly politicized violence. And will everybody stop trying to decide whose side is more prone to violence? The fact of the matter is nobody's hands are clean, and violence is only going to beget more violence. All right. We have to turn down the rhetoric, turn down these things, right? It doesn't help, right? I'm not going to sit here and say ICE is bringing this upon themselves, but why are we masking the agents when they come after people? This is America. This is not jackbooted thugs coming in at that is not what America's supposed to be. And so all of this stuff is going to get met when you sort of govern in a nihilistic way. You're going to end up creating a lot of nihilists, and that's a very scary proposition for those of us that would like to live in free, normal America.